this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel. Yesterday, the story broke by Eleanor Terrett, who is a Fox Business journalist, that she had in her hands former SEC Director Bill Hinman's public schedule. Now, it's called the public schedule. You might think, well, it's a public schedule. Surely, there's been public... No, it would not. Nope. The SEC is like pulling teeth to get this damn thing. And it was thanks to the efforts of XRP community members who filed FOIA requests that we ended up getting it. And so I made a video about that as quickly as I could after reviewing the information. So it was probably a little after 2.5 hours after the story broke. I had the time to put something together and do enough research. It was like, wow, there's already a lot here. I was like, I can make a video. So I got that out so I could get the news out as quickly as possible. And I noted, look, there's probably going to be additional stuff that's going to be worth talking about. And oh, there sure as hell is. So in fact, because again, this broke yesterday afternoon. Well, last night, attorney John Deaton, he had more time to tear into this thing. And he ended up sharing on Twitter a thread that shows like what the SEC was trying to hide. It's just from like Hinman, meeting with its ethics staff. There's proof of that, but apparently no discussion whatsoever about his Ethereum free pass speech. Well, maybe that's a thing. Well, maybe that's a problem. Then you got, for instance, just off the top of my head, you got Joe Lubin, who was, meeting with, actually there were several events. I'll get to the nuts and bolts of it in this as we go through the video here, but based on conversations that Joe Lubin had with Hinman, I don't understand how it couldn't have been clear to Hinman that, Simpson Thacher, his former law firm at that point, was a member of the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, because Joe Lubin sure as hell knew that. And you don't think that he would have brought it up? And then Hinman is so oblivious, I'm just bumbling around like a fool. I didn't know that. I don't buy this. There's stuff that was uncovered. I'm going to go through what Attorney John Deaton had to break down, but I do want to be clear at the outset. I do not have a legal or financial background of any kind. I am not offering legal or financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. And so just as a refresher, I'll mention just this first tweet in this thread from Eleanor Terrett yesterday afternoon, 12:09 p.m. Central Standard Time. Breaking scoop. I have received a copy of Bill Hinman's public calendar covering his entire tenure while at the SEC. It's extensive, 189 pages worth, of which I am still coming through, but here are the standouts. And so I covered all that stuff, and there's a lot of interesting stuff, even just right out the gate. Did end up coming to find that, and John Deaton pointed this out, that it's actually not the entirety of Bill Hinman's calendar. There's stuff that seems to have been intentionally removed, and that comes up in here too. So check this out. Here's what Attorney Deaton had to say. As Eleanor Terrett reported shortly ago, the December 20th, 2017, to the Yahoo Finance speech on June 14th, 2018, Hinman had a total of 4 private meetings only with consensus, 2 additional SEC meetings to exclusively discuss ETH, and the famous meeting with at A16Z. And although A16Z is the crypto fund of venture cap firm Andreessen Horowitz. And so the date that he's talking there from, again, December 20th, 2017 through June 4th, 2018, well, June 14th, 2018, that's the day of the Ethereum free pass speech that Bill Hinman gave. And then Attorney Deaton continues. That is a total of 7 meetings exclusively on ETH in the run-up to the speech. 7. God. The first Hinman meeting with consensus was on December 20th, 2017, and includes the notation submission attached without explanation. Submission attached. What was submitted by consensus? The A16Z meeting took place on March 28th, 2018, which we know advanced a safe harbor proposal that exclusively mentioned ETH and no other token. And the next day, March 29th, 2018, Hinman had a 90-minute meeting with consensus, followed up with a call with Joe Lubin on April 23rd of 2018. This is a lot of conversation with somebody who's a developer building on a specific blockchain. Don't you think? Don't you think that's a lot, even right there at this point? Now check this out. It goes further. Hinman next met with Matt Corva of Consensus, and he's their legal guy, isn't he? Yeah, here we go. Matt Corver. Here's his Twitter profile. Law and Things at Consensus. So there you go. So Hinman met with Matt Corva of Consensus on May 25th, 2018. In between there was a April 6, 2018 call/meeting RE-ETH. And so that's what was on the calendar. And April 12th, 2018 meeting on Ether. And so just note, the reason it's being worded like this by Deaton is because that's how it's written on the calendar. And he's got some of this, if you're looking at the screen, you can see it's in quotation marks, and that's why. And then Deaton says, at the same time, Hinman met with SEC Special Counsel Michael Seaman about the upcoming speech at least 3 times, May 18th, May 22nd, and June 4th. There was also a meeting with Coinbase on March 27th, 2018, and with Caitlin Long on February 27th, 2018, on REGN of exchanges, which I believe just means regulation of exchanges. That's my suspicion there. And this is Caitlin Long right here, founder/CEO of Custodia Bank. And I remember covering this story. They ended up getting approved to be have an actual banking license, but it's an actual crypto bank. That was big news when that broke. So anyway, that's Caitlin Long. And then Attorney Deaton continues. He says, but in relation to the speech, there was only Consensus and A16Z. And again, A16Z, Andreessen Horowitz there. No one else was consulted on Hinman's calendar outside the SEC. Ironically, Hinman's calendar has several meetings with SEC ethics staff in the run-up to his speech, but none of them are related to screening it for conflicts of interest. So pause to think about this. The only people that were copied outside of the SEC on the Bill Hinman Ethereum Free Pass speech, so there's Caitlin Long, okay, but there's also Joe Lubin, and there you go. This Andreessen Horowitz. That is it. Andreessen Horowitz, Joe Lubin, Caitlin Long. That's it. And then again, as Attorney Deaton stated here, ironically, Hinman's calendar has several meetings with SEC ethics staff in the run-up to his speech, but none of them are related to screening it for conflicts of interest. And so the reason that it's interesting that only these people outside the SEC saw it, set aside Caitlin Long, but Joe Lubin and Andreessen Horowitz specifically, heavy interest in ETH. Heavy interest in ETH. That's why that's interesting. Now, Attorney Deaton continues, and he says he had 2 meetings with Danae Serrano, Chief Ethics Counsels. That's Chief Ethics Counsel at the SEC. Bill Hinman met with Danae. But those discussions were about an upcoming legal advisory on digital asset holdings by government employees that was released by the Office of Government Ethics on June 18th, 2018. But the speech was never a topic for calls or meetings with ethics. Think about that, folks. This speech, and it should just be common sense, and I think it was. I think he just didn't want to do it. It's common sense. Bill Hinman should have run it by the ethics office. He's not a stupid man. I think he just chose not to because I think he understood probably wouldn't have gone well. Probably wouldn't have gone too well because he does have interests in firms, right? Simpson Thacher, member of the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance. Attorney Deaton continues. We all know that Hinman was repeatedly warned about avoiding criminal financial conflicts related to his ongoing profit-sharing interest in Simpson Thacher. Warnings we can prove he ignored and violated at least 3 times since being told not to meet with Simpson Thacher. Ironically, Hinman had his annual ethics training scheduled on May 5th, 2018, days after his call with Joe Lubin, whose company co-founded the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, of which Simpson Thacher was a member. And so that's what I was saying at the outset of the video. Pause. For them to have the amount of communication that they had, and it to not come up once from even just Joe Lubin saying, oh yeah, well, I co-founded the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, and your old law firm is a member. Do you not think it ever came up? Hey, Bill, if you're just getting to know somebody, what'd you do before the SEC? Oh, Simpson Thacher. Oh, hey, you know what? They're a member of the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, which I co-founded. You don't think that that was discussed? It never even popped up here? Not once? That's astonishing if so. Attorney Deaton continues. The SEC did not provide Hinman's full calendar. His big speech on June 14th, 2018 isn't even on the calendar entries provided by the SEC. We know one of the times Hinman violated his oath and criminal conflicts laws was when he met his partner, Attorney Lin, from the China office. The IPO for Canon, a Bitcoin and ETH mining manufacturer, was being considered by Hinman's division at the time of this meeting. I'm sure the IPO didn't come up. But this meeting between Hinman and Lin is not on the calendar entries provided by the SEC. We know Hinman met with his partner Joshua Bonney several times in violation of both the conflict statute and direct orders from the SEC Ethics Office. A couple lunch meetings are redacted. The SEC redacted these lunch meetings to protect privacy. But whose privacy? Hinman's? Bonney's? Why wouldn't taxpayers be allowed to know who our public servants are meeting? How does it violate anyone's privacy by acknowledging they had lunch with the director of corporation finance? So pause to think about that. Why is it the case that they've been putting up such a fight? They don't want us to know these things that I'm talking about right now, but it's in the public domain. This is in the public domain. So why wouldn't they want you listening to this and me covering this story on the Moon Lambo channel, which is the best channel in all of the YouTubes? Why would they not want this to happen? You know, it's just a lunch meeting, right? Might it be because there were more considerations, and if you get a little piece of this and you could lead to the next little tidbit, you can figure it all out and everything unravels? Might it be the case that there are serious ethics violations here? Could that be the reason? Attorney Deaton continues. How does it violate anyone's privacy by acknowledging they had lunch with the director of corporation finance? And then you get here, redacted Hinman deposition. Here are redacted excerpts of Hinman being questioned by Ripple. Now, Consensus was relevant in this litigation. Notice how the SEC reached out to Consensus. Consensus was represented by Clayton's law firm. Consensus Deputy General Counsel was from Clayton's firm. Isn't it funny how incestuous all that is? Look at all of these relationships here. And then look at how much is redacted. This is fun stuff here. And this is just like, there's just like a couple slides here, but you know, you can see. We're not supposed to know a damn thing. We're definitely not supposed to know a damn thing. And so Attorney Deaton continues and says, why the redactions? By the way, there were 4 meetings Hinman was at with Consensus, but look, there were other SEC meetings. As my timeline stated, December 13th, 2017 was a meeting between SEC and Consensus. And then you get to the next part. Ripple subpoenaed Consensus. How about that? And then he says, remember when Ripple lawyers brought up the issue of conflicts with Hinman? They asked if Consensus was a client. Look at them bringing up the Ethereum Foundation. Why does the SEC redact the answers? We don't have a right to know about these conflicts? 4 pages of redactions. And here, I can just flip through them. I mean, it's just, this is, John Deaton's not kidding. We're just not supposed to know this stuff because reasons. They just don't want us to know anything. And then Attorney Deaton says, then we have this. Ripple was interested in the period of time between Hinman's so-called retirement from Simpson Thacher until he arrived at the SEC. We don't have the following pages to see, but who did Hinman visit or talk to? A cynic might say this was the bidding period of time. And so think about this. It's not only the case that, and this was known back then, you're talking 2018 before he gave this Ethereum free pass speech, it was facts out in the world that Hinman did work at Simpson Thacher, and that Simpson Thacher at that time was a member of the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance. And then after Hinman left the SEC, although, and keep this in mind, he met with Andreessen Horowitz while he was a director at the SEC. So then after he left the SEC, he ended up working with Andreessen Horowitz. There's a picture of his mug on the website. I talked about this yesterday. And so these are the only people that got the Ethereum free pass speech? Do you see what's going on here? Come on. This is not conspiracy stuff. Like, these are clear dots that deserve to be connected. This could not be more obvious. You have to just be in complete denial to not recognize this. And so it's all uncovered. It's all right here. And thank you, John Deaton, for going into great lengths to cover all this information. My gosh, it's completely insane. And the average person out there just has no clue. They have no idea. But these are just some of the worst people on the planet as far as I'm concerned. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'm going to wrap up. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.